In this upcoming episode, I sat down with an animal lawyer. If you are a pet business owner and you have ever wondered if you have the right stuff in your contract, if you have the right insurance, if you've set your business up the right way, and what things make you liable, then you're going to want to watch this episode because Callie brings it and she shares so many details of what you want to look for and include in your contracts and how to go about it so that you don't end up in a courtroom if something goes wrong. This is the Dog Sitter's House podcast. Welcome back to the Dog Sitter's House podcast. Today I have a special guest for you who is going to bring you a lot of things to think about and direction that you can go in. I do believe this is Callie Gerber. Callie Gerber is an animal attorney with the Gerber Animal Law Center. Welcome, Callie. I appreciate you being here. Can you
Thanks
tell
for
us?
having me.
You're welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about your past, not your past, but how you got here? How long have you been an attorney and what do you specialize in?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I've been practicing law for just about 30 years now. And 18 years ago, I left where I was to start an animal law firm, which everybody said couldn't be done. It wasn't possible. And um, I made that really crazy decision to go out and do that in 2008.
Right.
Right when the recession hit. So if I wanted to pick the hardest time possible for people to be spending money on an animal lawyer, which they didn't even know existed, it was definitely the recession. But I just believed, you can do anything you set your mind to, and if you're on your path, things are going to work out. And if you just stay in movement, things will happen.
You'll fit.
So it wasn't always easy. It definitely had some pretty strong challenges, but the only everything is information. We're all learning the whole way.
Yeah. Now, were you the first animal attorney? That
In
with
the
that.
in the country, no.
Okay.
There's a handful of others. There's
But
not that many. So if you think folks who work for the nationals, say the big nonprofits, technically they're animal lawyers. They're working on solely animal law, but they're also getting a paycheck, every
yes.
however they're employed by a big organization.
Yeah.
There aren't very many people who have small or solo law practices that do only animal law in the
Okay.
country. There's
That's
there's a group of us, but it's not a very large group.
Oh, well, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Thank you for being so brave to step out to do that because there
Yeah.
are people who need you, obviously. Yeah. Well, good. Well, let's dive on in. Can we start? I have a
Okay.
list of questions for you, and
Great.
I know I gave you a small chance to look them over, but whatever you can answer, great. If not, I know that this is for educational purposes, everybody, because Callie is not your lawyer. And how did you say it earlier?
That's right. Nothing in here is legal advice. So just know this is for educational purposes only. This is to help you learn and hopefully if you need to consult with an attorney, have an idea of the questions you want to ask, those type of things. So not giving nothing in here should be legal advice or considered legal advice because I don't know the facts of your specific situation and the law is incredibly factually specific. Also, different states have different rules. So
Okay.
you need to talk to an attorney in your own state.
Okay. Okay. And you are in North Carolina,
I'm
correct?
in North Carolina,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. So a lot of what your perspective comes from is based on your North Carolina laws, I would say, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's just do a basic. If somebody is getting set up for their pet business, do
Mhm.
they is it important that they're either an LLC or a sole proprietorship or, is there a specific way that you would recommend they set their business up?
The favorite thing you're going to hear me say about 100 times today, probably, it depends.
Okay.
If it were me, I would like to see them set up an entity because it gives a little bit of a layer of protection for you. You absolutely can do a business as a sole proprietor, right?
Okay.
So if you're going out and you need to get in motion, there's nothing stopping you from doing that. You need to check what kind of business licenses you may need in your city or your county or your state, obviously. But
Mhm.
beyond that, lots of people are sole proprietors. They just go out and do their thing. Now, when you become an LLC, it's not very hard, first of all. Like
Yeah.
it's a fill in the blank form a lot of places on your Secretary of State website and a fee. So it doesn't take a lot, and then you get a good layer of protection. Now, I will say if you don't check the right boxes, you need to have a separate bank account. You need to your personal and your business need to be kept separate. There's a lot of things that need to happen to maintain that protection.
Yeah.
But it does help give you a layer. Now, some people think if I'm an LLC, I'm completely covered, and that's just simply not the case. It's your contracts and your insurance that are going to give you your protection more than the entity that you choose. So don't get too hung up. Should I be an S corp? Should I be an LLC? Should I be which entity isn't as important? By the way, S corp is just a tax election.
Yeah.
It's not a separate, you can be a corporation, you can be an LLC. S corp is you can be an LLC and be taxed like an S corp.
Yeah.
And so
That's how I am.
yes, so
Yeah.
they can, and it all depends how much you make. If you're
Yeah.
making, I always tell people talk to an accountant on this decision because it's very personal to how you're doing things. But if you're not making a certain threshold of money, it usually isn't beneficial to be taxed as an S corp.
Correct. Yeah.
So
What are the benefits of being an S corp if so?
the S corp, so you have employees. Well, for one, you get a salary. So you're going to be paying an accountant, probably. I guess you could do QuickBooks, but you're going to get a certain amount of money by salary instead of all of the income that comes in just automatically becomes your income. So
Right.
you like if you're an LLC, you're going to single member LLC, you're going to pay self-employment tax.
Yeah.
Like my law firm is a single member LLC.
Okay.
So I've had friends who've gone to the S Corp and then they end up paying their CPA thousands of dollars to do their books every month. And they're like,
Yeah.
why did I ever do this? So that's why they say at a certain threshold. So the S Corp has more administrative costs, but it
Yeah.
can save you if you're at that right income level a
Yeah.
lot in taxes. So if you're making $100,000, they're usually saying S Corp is a more beneficial tax election. So again, chat with your accountant as to where you are and then
Yeah.
make that decision. Like I probably should talk to my tax accountant about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one more thing. So
Yeah.
I stay
Yeah.
single member and just do it that way, but I'm probably paying too much tax.
Well, I will say I know for a fact that my going LLC as a single corp is saving me a ton of money in taxes.
Mhm.
But I would say shop around for a good CPA that's
Yeah,
not going to, take you to the bank because mine is very well reasonably priced, and
that's
that's
good.
why it is saving me a lot. That's a big part as to why she's saving me a lot of money. So,
Yeah, I've seen in some of the examples I've seen, if you're in that, 100,000 range, you may draw a $55,000 salary and then a $45,000 of it is distribution. You're saving yeah, you could be saving $8,000 a year in taxes, and that's a lot of money. So,
absolutely. Yep.
you
And it's
know,
all legal. When I found that
yes,
out, and she
yes.
said it's just a loophole in the system that they
Mhm.
created so that they too can use it. And so therefore they never voted out.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So I said,
100% legal.
okay.
Just make sure you do all the compliance things you have
Yes,
to
keep it
stay legal. That's the
separate
tricky part.
banks and all that.
Yep.
Yes, I agree. Okay, good, good, good tip. Okay, so what we've kind of gone over the pros and cons of that, so I would skip that. Let's go into let's go into contracts because as you
Oh,
mentioned, that is so
yes.
important when it
So
comes to
important.
protecting yourself. So, first of all, the simple question, do I really need a contract if I trust my clients, right? I do have people who are like, oh, my clients would never do anything to me. What do
Yeah.
you think? Have you had horror stories?
Oh my gosh, so many horror stories. And I will also say at the same time, my dog sitter and I don't have a contract.
Oh gosh, really?
So it's a little bit like do as I say, not do as I do. But I
Maybe
also know my dog. I only would work with somebody that I know personally. If it was someone I did not know, I would not
okay.
work with them. And I would have a contract if I didn't know them. So even if you like them, here's the thing, putting things in writing, it's kind of like good fences make good neighbors.
Uh-huh.
If
Yeah.
Let's put it in writing while we all are friends, right?
Yeah.
While we all let's agree on what the ground rules are. We never want anything to go sideways, but if it does, it's all in writing how we're supposed to behave.
Yeah.
So it just helps when you set expectations, it really helps. Now, I say that. I'll also say many people who come to me because their animal's been injured, at daycare or boarding, um, they have no idea what they signed. They're, oh, John is so great with dogs and da da da. I just signed, I didn't read it. Okay, well, that's on them.
Yes.
And I also a lot of times would like to talk through some of these things. This is to make sure if something happens, Fluffy catches a toenail on the door going out and rips it off and it's bleeding. I need to know what to do.
Yeah.
Do you want me to call you to have you come? Do you want me to transport to the vet? Which vet? You know, let's put that all in the contract, what happens.
Yes.
And that way it's all, and or do I send a text and if you don't respond in 10 minutes, I take to the because if you're bleeding profusely, we have to know what you're going to do.
Right.
So those are helpful. So you need the parties' names, obviously.
Uh-huh. Okay.
You're going to want to have your terms of your agreement. It's great to have, if you think about what your cancellation policy is, what your fees are. You always can have an addendum if you change your fees, but for purposes of this, and if you don't cancel, 72 hours in advance, 36 hours in advance, whatever that is, this is what's going to be assessed. You're still going to pay because I couldn't take another client because of that.
Right.
Also, expectations, how many animals do you have? I've had situations where the person represented, I only have one client animal in my house at a time, or if they have three dogs, their dogs. I don't have other ones if I have theirs. Then something happens. And
Okay.
there was another animal there, and there was an incident. And those people
Okay.
are like, I only use places that have just my dogs at one time. I would
Yeah.
never have gone there if I knew this. So,
Oh, okay.
so
And
there's,
so
yeah.
even if they know it and if they know you have, say you have multiple dogs that you care for at the same time, and they know it because they came and toured your place and saw that and you discussed it and it's on your social media and all that jazz, does that still need to be in the contract, would you say?
I think it's always good to put things in that just, the parties understand that this
Yeah.
such and such company, XYZ company,
Okay.
has multiple dogs on premises at the time.
Okay. And there was something else you mentioned that made me raise an eyebrow. You said if you change your prices, you could always add an addendum. So
Mhm.
is that important? I know, if you sometimes you can just raise your prices and send out a email and let everybody know your prices have changed, but that's not good enough.
I'd like to see a signed addendum, and it can be very easy, just a little one page, our prices have been the same for 5 years. At this time, they will, or I usually would send it out in advance. So 30 days
Oh,
from now, or
yeah.
on July 1st, whenever, but give a little advance notice, prices will be increasing, or put in your contract. Prices do change,
Oh, subject to change.
are subject to change. And, they agree maybe to notice via email. Again, I like to have a signed document.
Okay, I like that too.
But if you
Okay.
don't, at least have something like that where you have a notice. The problem is if you send out an email blast, what if it goes to their spam and they never see it? And then they're going to be cranky. And you just, again,
Yeah.
setting those expectations, you want people to be happy, you want them to have good
Yeah.
experiences. So the better the communication, most people don't get, I mean, I've raised my prices. Most people don't get mad as long as you let them know and you let them know in advance.
Yeah,
If they show
exactly.
up and they're like, oh, it's twice as much, they're going
Yeah.
to be a little cranky. If it's
Yeah.
if it's a small incremental change and they knew 30 days ahead so they could change their mind,
Yeah.
they'd rather
Yep.
stay with what they know. People like to
Yeah.
work with people they know, like, and trust. So it's
Absolutely.
not usually the money. It's not
Yeah.
usually how much you cost.
That is so true. So
Mhm.
true. And every time I've raised my prices, my customers are like, you deserve this.
Yes.
They're my cheerleaders, you know? So
Yes.
you're sitting there biting your fingernails, wondering if everyone's going to leave you. And instead, they shower you with appreciation. Like, yes, we were waiting for you to raise your prices. What took you so long?
I mean, I say all the time, I'm very expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am. I've been
Yeah.
doing, I've
For a
been, I'm an
reason.
attorney with 30 years experience, and my knowledge is very specific. So
Yes.
there may be less expensive people out there, and if you can find someone, awesome.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
no attachment to that.
Yeah.
If it doesn't fit, if it's not a fit for you, then don't force it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Good. Well, I love that. That's good to know. Now, would you say, so if they on their contract, you want to make sure everything's included that they're signing, right? Like it shouldn't be like, here's a sheet of cancellation policies or
uh,
hours or clauses, and then here's a sheet of, your dog's veterinary information and what to do in an emergency and have them separate and only one signed or what have you. It should all be included under one, and then they should sign it all, correct?
yeah, I'd like to see that all clearly in order, in an order that it makes sense. I also love to see something in there that says, they swear to the truth of the information they're providing, because you're going to ask them if there's behavior issues, if there's medical issues. I also like there to be something in there that says, should this information change, they will notify you before the next time their dog
Oh,
has a session. Because if their
yeah.
dog goes after another dog, but it
Yeah.
happens 2 years after they may not tell you. And you need
Right.
to know that information. It may be a freak thing. It may,
Yeah.
not every dog gets along with every dog, or not every dog gets along with every cat.
Right.
But if you don't know, you can't keep everybody safe. So it's
Yeah.
it's just about safety, and that, just because they let you know doesn't mean you're going to kick them out. It
Right.
just means you can make everything safer for everybody.
Yeah.
So I do like to throw that in there. There's, you want your payment terms, you want to know emergency medical, you want to know medical and behavioral history. So,
Okay.
that one may be a separate sheet. They're disclosing any medicines that their animals are
Oh,
on, any prior behavior history, and then they're saying that that's true to the best of their knowledge, because that may
okay.
also change.
Yes.
You may have
Okay.
a dog that's on prednisone at one point. You may have a dog that's on Apoquel at some point, and they may come off it, go on it. They may be on antibiotics. So
Right.
again, any of that should be in writing.
So every time a dog ends up going on some sort of medication, it should be in writing.
If they're if they're being dog sat during that period,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
would I would want it in writing,
Okay.
because,
That's good
and
to
also,
know.
did they give the meds that morning, or are you supposed to give the meds? Because
If you have an overdose, yeah.
you don't want to double dose. You don't want to give two doses and you're only supposed to give one, and then they give it as soon as they get home. Just if it's clear. Again, some of this sometimes happens in text message, but just remember, you've got to keep
All
those.
of that
You've
record.
got
Yeah.
to retain those text messages then, even after they're
Okay.
not a client. So
Okay.
that's why I like to have them in a file where you can just scan it, keep it electronically, obviously keep a backup somewhere, not both of them on the same computer in case the computer dies.
Yeah.
Usually one in the cloud, or one on a hard drive that's somewhere not in your house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Crazy this it's crazy the extents we have to go to make sure we CYA, right? Yeah.
It is. But if your house burned,
Burns. Yeah, right.
you
So
want those docs.
maybe it'd be a good idea to have an electronical version where they have to sign or agree to by email or something really quick or text or what have you. But then also to have some printed sheets for when customers say, "Oh, my dog just got on prednisone and I just gave them their first dosage this morning and here's what needs to how many times a day that they
Yeah.
need it." So you can go, "Oh, okay, actually here, fill this out before you leave." So I can make sure we have all the details.
And I guess that depends too. Are you going to their house? Is
It could
if
be
you're a
either.
drop-in sitter, how do they sign it? So in that case, you might want a way to be able to move those documents electronically.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and
Okay.
again, It doesn't necessarily have to be the super official DocuSign. They can send you a text that says,
That's
but
good.
make sure you're not misinterpreting the text or email. Make sure you're clarifying when was the last dose given? When am I supposed to give the dose?
Okay,
Does
yeah.
this have to be given with food? A lot of the medicine stuff I see is diabetic dog type stuff
Oh,
where
okay.
they fail to give insulin or they give too much insulin and
Yeah.
can have
Have
really
you
bad
had
outcomes.
cases like that
Yeah.
where people sued because their dog died or something because of it? Oh my
Or
goodness.
they could go into diabetic ketoacidosis. I mean, they could end up with a $20,000 vet bill.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that would just destroy a pet sitter.
Yeah. If you
Yeah.
don't have good insurance. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. That's fabulous information. Thank you. Is there anything else that you would say should absolutely be in your contract that we haven't said so far?
Yeah. I mean, so let's see. Made a little list. One, I would want to have a venue and a dispute resolution clause in there. So, for instance, most people think, oh, if they're using me as a dog sitter, they live in the same county as me, so we don't really need to talk about venue. Venue is a term for which court you would go to,
Okay.
venue and jurisdiction, if there was a legal dispute.
Yep.
I've had situations where people are coming through town, like they're driving from Florida to New York and they stop in North Carolina and they use a sitter online.
Uh,
Something happens and then they continue on to New York. You don't want to be sued in New York.
oh no.
Because
Yeah.
then you're going
Okay.
to have to go there to appear. You're going to have to hire a lawyer in New York. You're going to, well, unless you live in New York, and then it might be convenient. So putting a
Yeah.
clause in there that says any disputes in this contract shall be litigated solely and exclusively in this jurisdiction, and then list what jurisdiction.
Okay.
So a lot of times for my clients, we'll say solely and exclusively in Wake County, North Carolina, because that's where I am. And so it's
Okay. I was
cheaper
just
for
gonna say.
them to have it litigated where I am versus where
Okay.
they
Yeah.
are.
Oh, that's a good
So,
idea. So,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. So, county, just specifying the county is good enough.
Well, the
The
usually the
jurisdiction.
courts are by county.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Okay.
if your state's different and it's by district, say,
Okay.
not yours specifically, but if someone's is separate, then you want to specify the district you want it to be in. So whatever.
That the
And
court's
then
in.
and
I
then
see.
state court. And some people just say the state to make sure they're sued in the same state. But here,
Oh,
like think North Carolina, it can be 4 or 5 hours.
to the other side.
Right, if it ends up
Yeah.
being someone not right where you are. So
Yeah.
that can protect you a little bit. Obviously, media, if you are going to be
Yeah.
posting pictures or
Okay.
videos of your clients, you're going to need that to be in there, that there's a release, that they allow you to use it. Not only that they allow you to use it, but they allow you to use it for commercial purposes.
Yes. Okay.
So, we love to talk about how much fun our dogs are having when they're with us. Please indicate, give them a check, yes or no box, whether you agree to us to a release and a full use of your dog's photos or videos being posted to our social media accounts or our advertising. Something along those lines, a little bit cleaner language, but putting that right in the contract because when people are bringing their dogs to have fun, they're usually happy to see them show up on your website or something. They're
Yeah.
like, that's my dog that's on
That's
the
right.
website.
They're
So,
sharing it with friends and family and
right. But, and then, it's in perpetuity or how long it lasts, the agreement, and then that they can revoke at any time, right? Because if something goes south, th're going to want you to take the picture down. So,
okay.
um, yeah, I like to take care of that I would also say vaccination status. I like to see that in a contract too,
Yes.
that they
Okay.
agree to keep their animals current on all vaccines and parasite control.
Okay. Yep.
The last thing you want is them coming home and them saying, "Oh, they got worms on the walk with you, and then I want you to pay for them to get dewormed." No, no,
Right.
you need to keep them on.
Have you seen that? Have pet owners
Yes.
actually said that it was picked up while it was with their pet sitter?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
It's not usually it's usually boarding or grooming or something like that. So,
Okay.
they take their animal somewhere, their animal ends up with worms and they're like, they never leave my backyard, so obviously it came from that.
Oh. Oh, wow. But there's
Yeah.
no way to really prove that, is there? Is that admissible in law?
Well, I mean, if they literally don't take their animal anywhere off their property,
Well, they can get it on their property, can't
they
they?
could, they
Yeah.
could, but they're going to make the allegation that Fifi is 8 years old and has never, ever, ever contracted worms in our backyard. And
Mhm.
they went one time with blah, blah, blah. And now they have worms.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but as a defense, I'd say, well, you don't know if a fox or a coyote got into your yard and pooped and voila.
Yeah.
It's
But if you
possible.
end it, and not that you probably would, again, this would be so expensive to litigate, but it's the principle of matter when people come to me. It's not the dollar amount. So,
Okay.
if
Yeah.
they think you allowed their animal to get sick in your yard, and again, if you put 12 in the box and you say, this place has animals coming and going all the time,
Yeah.
my yard does not,
Yeah.
they only got to be 51% to convince in
Oh,
civil court. So
okay.
you're going to say it's more likely than not that that's where they got. And again, worms, not that expensive to fix
Right.
unless it triggers something else. But,
Yeah. Okay.
that's usually more a PR. You can fix it. And isn't it much better just to be like, here's the $150 for your vet bill than making it an issue?
Yeah, true. Okay.
Probably. And then you may know this is a type of client, maybe it's not the best. Also, by the way, you gotta be real careful getting rid of clients if they do something you don't like. Like if they post a bad review,
Oh,
don't
okay.
want to fire them right away.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah,
Okay.
it gets a little messy because in theory, it's freedom of speech. And if
Right.
they allege that they were discriminated against because of what they said,
Okay. Wow.
so
I
I would
mean,
just,
in
now you
most
don't want to work
cases,
with someone who's slamming you on the internet,
right,
but you probably
right.
need to find a better reason
Yeah.
or
Okay.
not do it right when the review came out.
Right. What if, so I know I've had scenarios where I've had to fire a customer
Mhm.
just because their dog wasn't a good fit for the pack, that they were displaying behaviors that we couldn't, get under control. And I actually had recommended to the customer multiple times of things they could do to help their dog with this behavior so that it could help us when they were here, and they didn't do those things or it wasn't working. I recommended trainers that they could go to help with rehabbing that behavior. They still didn't do it. And then I let them go because I didn't want to take on the risk of their dog being too toy possessive in this
Yeah.
scenario I'm thinking of and biting another dog. So in that scenario, should I have been recording all of those times somehow that I was telling them that? No. Okay.
Well, I think you're okay. I mean, I might have wanted to document a little internally if you could,
Okay.
maybe if you have some notes, you don't necessarily have to, but showing that pattern. You
Okay.
also, again, might be really good thing to put in your contract
Yeah.
is that, there are multiple dogs that come here, so it is critically important the dogs all get along. If at any time one of the dogs is causing an issue that upsets the balance, they may not be able to continue coming. We would
Okay.
give you note, and then what kind of notice you might give that person or how that would work.
Okay.
Do you give a warning? Do whatever you want to do? And then if you lay that out, be sure to follow it. That's the other thing I would say
Yes.
is if you promise you're going to give a warning, you have to, or if you say, depending on the severity of the incident.
Yes. Okay, so you just give a warning that you have the right to terminate the contract or the services for them.
Mhm.
Uh,
And how much, maybe some notice? Would you give 7 days notice or,
yeah,
something so they can't go to work the next day or something like that? Do you have the
right.
ability to keep them separate, but at least contain them for a little bit of time?
Okay, that's a
And
good
if
thing.
not, you don't, but
Yeah,
if
okay,
you could, it makes it easier for them to transition to somebody else,
right.
which
And less likely that they're going to leave you a bad review because you're trying to help them out still.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Like this isn't the right fit. Let me help you find the right fit.
yeah, I
Your
like that.
dog's not a bad dog, just like nobody wants their kid to be a bad kid.
Right.
Nobody
Yeah,
wants to have the problem child dog either. So,
right.
again, it's just not the right fit here, but he may be okay elsewhere.
Or here's some training you can get to, and then try them again, bring them back to us and see what have you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you made me think of something. Oh, so for me, being a home-based dog boarding and daycare, it's very crucial and important to me that all of my customers follow my rule of if you're going to show up more than 5 minutes early or late than expected, that you always send an ETA, an updated ETA via text beforehand. This way, we don't accidentally have the dogs outside when you arrive, causing a huge uproar and making it more difficult to get everybody wrangled inside, making it more likely that people or dogs could get too excited and bite one another,
Mhm.
and also disturbing the neighbors. So I have this policy in place, but it's not really specifically in my contract. It's just something I always text them, a little blurb I cut and paste and remind them of, especially when they're brand new until they've gotten used to that. So would you say that that's something I should actually have in the contract? Because I do have a three strikes and you're out rule. If they break it three times, I let them go.
Yeah. You could say if you think those guidelines may change, because again, you don't want the contract to be huge. You don't want to
Yeah,
be this
right.
giant, unwieldy, here's your 16 pages just to bring your
Yeah.
dog in.
Then it's guaranteed they'll never read it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just seems really burdensome
Yeah,
for
right.
bringing your dog to visit. So it might say subject to our guidelines, and then you email out the guidelines kind of thing.
Oh,
Because
that's
then
good.
they could update, if
Yeah.
you decide to fine tune them down the road.
Okay.
But
Okay.
at least you've got something in there that says termination subject to violation of our guidelines or good
Look
dog
over
behavior,
here. Yeah.
or good, it's usually good people behavior more often than not. The one
Yeah.
thing you've got to have is a liability protection policy, so some kind of liability waiver. And depending on your state, so here in North Carolina you cannot waive gross negligence or willful conduct, but you can waive negligence. So
Okay.
um,
The
depending what you want to do there, as negligence is an accident, gross
okay.
negligence is more reckless than basic negligence.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay. Almost like what's the word? So like just not paying attention or um not forward thinking or
generally, negligence is not acting as a reasonable person
oh, okay.
or violating your duty in some way. So gross negligence is well beyond that, acting recklessly with reckless disregard for.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And, depending who you are, you may argue negligent, one person may see it as reckless disregard when the other person says it was just an accident. So,
Yeah.
but putting those in there, it's hard because, if I take my dog to daycare and my dog ends up dead, gets out the front door, gets hit by a car, is dead, or is lost and never found, and I spend the
Right.
next years of my life searching for them,
Yeah.
I think the sitter should be on the hook for that.
Right.
So, and I don't care if it's just an accident. Like, I would not sign a contract waiving negligence
Oh,
because I'm kind of I want to be treated the way I would treat others. Like, that's why you have insurance.
yes.
Like,
Right.
I shouldn't be the one carrying the burden of the cost of this since I'm not the one who made the mistake.
What about when it comes to dog fights or, animals fighting or biting? Would you recommend, I would think, to have a waiver of negligence on that? Because, I mean, when it comes down to it, they're animals and
Yeah.
unpredictable sometimes, and you can't, no matter what you do, or you could do everything right and still something could go wrong.
Yeah, it's hard. And I'm with you. And there's also sometimes you put provisions in there that would say, um, that the owner retains liability if your dog causes harm to another dog.
Oh, oh,
You retain responsibility for that, um, because you know your dog best. You know whether they're going. But again, the situation they're leaving them in, they don't know the other dogs. They don't know the other energy levels. They don't know if they were there. They might have said, "Woo, it's getting a little too rambunctious. I'm going to separate you two." But the dog sitter doesn't, and that's what ends up causing it. So, or
right.
allowing it to happen. So there's so many factors that could take that into place. But sometimes they do that. I see some boarding facilities put some language in there that says, that the owners will be liable. Although I also see where they won't release the owners. And, then you look at, are you releasing someone's name that's a client to another client because their dog bit their dog? If you are ever going to do that, it better be in your contract. It
Okay.
better be in your contract that if your dog causes injury to another, your information will be released to that person.
Oh, yes.
Because
Okay.
otherwise, that's private information that you are releasing without consent.
Yes. Okay.
So
That could get you
those
kicked
are big
out.
decisions that you have to make. Is
Oh,
that just your insurance because it happened on your watch, or are you going to try to make the other person pay for it?
right. Okay.
Um, I'm of a lot of the ones I see where it's a boarding situation or a daycare, it's that they have a big dog and a little dog together that shouldn't have been.
Okay.
And the big dog causes some injury
Okay.
to the little
Yeah.
dog, and the person didn't think their little dog was going to be let out with big dogs. They thought the little dogs were going to play together, big dogs were going to play together, but that they weren't all going to be together. So,
Yes.
again, these expectations of,
Okay.
is my dog going to be out with all dogs? Is my Chihuahua going to be out with a husky? Or is my Chihuahua only going to play with dogs that are 20 pounds and less?
Yes. Okay. Okay.
So,
That's good.
and it's
So,
hard.
oh,
Again, you can't get but so specific in your contract, but be thinking about those type of things. Maybe they're in your guidelines.
yes. Okay.
Maybe you talk, or just anything you represent to the client, I would like to be in writing somewhere
Yeah.
because people remember it the way they hear it, but may not have been the way it was said.
Oh, absolutely.
But if it's in
Yes.
writing, it's it can protect you.
It's hard to
Putting
fight.
things in writing is your best friend.
Okay. Okay, good. And would you recommend that somebody try to find somebody like you in their area to help write these contracts out and make sure these important factors are in there and said the right way?
I don't know if there is someone like me everywhere.
Who would they go to if there wasn't a specific animal attorney?
I think they could go to a contract lawyer or like a business contract lawyer and
Okay.
then just, sit down with them again, maybe on Zoom, maybe on the phone, doesn't necessarily have to be in their office,
Okay.
but talking through a good attorney is going to want to understand your business
Okay.
if they're going to write a contract
Yeah.
to protect you. And
Yes.
and they may not know these type of things that can happen. So just you being exposed maybe to some of these unfortunately nightmare stories that I'm sharing
Yeah.
helps you know how quickly it can go really wrong.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
really, if you're the pet sitter seeking a contract lawyer, you really want to sit down and tell them, look, here's everything that could happen, that could go wrong, that I can even possibly think of, right?
yeah, yeah,
And so how do I make sure I'm covered that way? And
yeah.
then,
I just want to sit down and say, it's really important to me that you understand what all my business encompasses. Because I don't, the worst case scenario is you think you do, but you don't. And I haven't shared it with you. And then later down the line, we say, I wish I had known that. So I'd much rather, usually there's an initial consultation or something like that where you can talk through stuff.
true. Okay, good. All right. And then that brings me to the insurance.
Hmm?
So what kind, I know that insurance varies and whatnot. So what would you say on the insurance front that you really wanna, the things you want to look out for or include or go about, how
Um,
do you go about making sure you're properly insured?
I would say one of the big things with insurance is much like I just said, talk to your lawyer about what your business entails.
Even a contract lawyer?
Yeah, like
Okay.
sit down with your insurance agent and say, this is the kind of business
Oh,
I'm doing.
gotcha.
Can I, what do I need to protect me best?
I see.
Like
Yes.
what kind of policies does this policy cover me? Because usually your homeowners doesn't pay your business. If you run a business out of your homeowners is not going to cover that. That's commercial, it's not private. And a lot of people don't know that.
Right.
So understanding that you're going to need that professional liability. Also, the more things you promise. So if you're CPR certified, if you are a registered vet tech, if you're representing those things as bonuses, there's going to be a higher standard of care
Oh,
associated with that. People, if I go to someone and they tell me they've got all this extra training for for veterinary emergency, vet tech training, and they know CPR, I'm going to expect that they can stop the bleeding.
Yeah, right.
So,
Okay.
just being careful that the reasonable person standard may change depending what you're saying you have. So,
Your expertise. Okay.
if
Oh,
I'm a
that's good.
certified dog trainer, there might be different expectations than if
Yes.
I'm just a pet sitter.
Yes. Okay. That's a very good point. I'm glad you mentioned that because I never even
Yeah.
thought about that.
So different kinds of insurance. There's professional liability insurance. There's what sometimes is called care, custody, and control. So you have property in your control, and the insurance is going to cover that.
Oh, okay.
There's bonding insurance if you're going into other people's homes in case something gets stolen. That's more of
Mm-hmm.
a trust issue.
Yeah.
Um, if you're doing dog walking, or you may have to transport a pet to the veterinarian in an emergency situation, there may be auto insurance implications.
Oh, yeah.
What
Okay.
if you get in a car accident on the way to the vet? Who's paying? Is that your
Yeah.
LLC that's going to pay? Is that that you're engaged in a
Auto
business
insurance.
practice?
Yeah.
It's not your personal
Wow.
policy.
Okay. Yeah.
So again, insurance isn't my thing. So I usually say make sure to have these conversations with your insurance agent. I always go to them and say, I just want to make sure I'm covered. Like these are all the things I do. What do you recommend? What
Okay.
kind of coverages do you recommend? I literally just had this conversation with my homeowner's insurance last month. I said, look,
Okay.
I don't know what I don't have, right? Like, is there a separate policy for wind damage? Like, I wouldn't even think of that. Is there a
Yeah.
separate policy? Because I just learned there's a separate policy for flood damage.
Yes.
So, is there something else I just don't even know exists that I should have?
Right. What
I
don't
am
you
risk
know?
averse. What else do I need to buy? I'm your
Yeah.
dream client right here. So, and then he walks you through, there's this, and this costs this much, this costs this much. Or, what's your risk tolerance? And then you
Yeah.
make your decisions.
I see. Okay. So what do you think about those insurance companies that are like set up specifically for pet sitters?
I would, I would hope they would know
Their stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
So
I mean, I don't know because I haven't
it
interacted with
depends.
any of
Yeah, do
them.
your homework, but for overall, that might be a good place to go for one kind of one-stop shop to get the proper insurance that you need for your business side of
I would think
things.
it'd be a good place to start, definitely. And then,
Yeah.
hey, you could play with AI a little bit.
Mm.
AI is only as good as the prompting. So the problem is if you don't know the right questions to ask, you're not going to get good information.
Yeah.
But it can be a great foundational way you are an expert insurance agent specializing in home-based pet sitting. What insurance coverage do you recommend to all of your
Yeah.
clients that you want to protect?
Oh, that's great.
And then the next level would be, is there anything else?
Uh-huh. Always follow
You
up.
always peel
Yeah.
the onion with AI because they're just going to spit the generic out and you've got to dig. But
Yes.
and also remember every question's the best question they've ever been. That's a great question. Thanks for, it's
Yeah. Right.
so you have to challenge it as well. Is that really important insurance to have?
Yeah.
Why is that important insurance to have? What if I don't have that insurance? What exposure do I have? Give the probing questions after
Okay.
to,
What are the
and
cons and
then
pros?
and then
Yeah.
ask. I mean, I do it with my veterinarian.
Okay.
I do it with, I don't go in and say, the internet told me.
Yeah.
I go in and say, you are my veterinarian. I trust you more than anyone else. I was researching some on the internet just so I could ask intelligent questions when I came in here. And this was something that I thought was interesting. Can you help me understand?
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
It's not challenging. I don't
Yeah.
mind when people call me and they're like, whether they say I chat GPT'd this or they say I searched it on the internet. Great. That's so
Yeah.
awesome. You're an engaged client. That's really great that you started there. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I,
That's
I
good.
don't feel threatened by that. I think that's great that they're trying to educate themselves before they come to me. So,
Yeah.
if someone feels threatened by it, then I'm like, why are they feeling threatened by this? So,
Yeah, it might be a sign, a red flag to try and interview
right,
another insurance agent or
exactly. Although
veterinarian.
I don't go in trying to tell people their jobs either. I don't
Yeah.
say, well, the internet says this, so you're wrong. No, I say,
Yeah.
I was just trying to understand a little better before I came in. Can you
Right.
help me understand?
Yes.
So, but it's
Right.
it's a great way. if you don't have access to all these things sometimes to get more
Ah,
information or to get information and do your homework before you go meet with the attorney.
yeah, that's a great reminder. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay,
I have
good.
seen some internet generated contracts that are horrible though, so
So
I'm not
don't always count on that alone. Yeah.
exactly. I'm not advising that for final product, but it's not a bad
It's a
place to
starting
start.
point. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the starting line. Okay, very good. Okay, so what would you say about legally refusing service to certain dogs or clients or cats or what have you, certain pets? Do you think is it legal to do that, or is
Yeah.
there any kind of discrimination laws out there on that?
Well, again, you need to avoid the discrimination areas, right? You
Yeah,
can't say I don't take clients who are men. I don't
yeah,
work with men. I don't work
right.
with the elderly. I don't work with, this or that.
Nothing
So
age
stay
or
away from
gender,
the
race.
the protected
Okay.
classes, and you're usually okay that way.
Yeah.
It's more, and again, if it's in your policies, if you say, I have a strict policy, I don't deal with dogs that have an aggression history,
Oh,
or I don't take dogs that have resource guarding issues,
okay.
or it's as long as there's a good reason for it. It's not
Okay.
just arbitrary. I don't like German Shepherds. Okay, that's not, don't say it like that. Don't
Right.
say it like that.
Right, right. So
Because
for me, I only do 35 pounds or less.
there you go.
So as long as that's in my policy, then
Mhm.
nobody can really say anything about it if it's over if it's 40 pounds or higher or even. Yeah.
And I would get, as long as you are enforcing it, right?
Yeah.
So, if they've been with you a really long time and all of a sudden they have a dog that's 40 pounds,
Right.
do
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
let that in, or do you
And would
say
you
now
say
you
that
need to
in that
take.
case I should grandfather in or say that I grandfather in any that, have been with us and who have, let's just say, grown past their expected weight limit?
That's exactly what I was thinking. You've got a dog that should be 30 that's actually 40. Do we hold that against them?
Right. They had a couple too many treats.
So you might say, in general, I don't take dogs over 35 pounds. You know,
If-
then that means in general you don't, right? If you put
Okay.
those words in there.
So it kind of
And
leaves some
then
wiggle
you
room.
could also say, if you wanted to, something else, but I think I would just leave it at that and not over explain it.
Okay.
Just say,
Yeah.
in general, I don't. Because I think the problem is if somebody ends up getting harmed by that dog that's over that weight limit at some point in the future, they're going to say, I didn't think any dogs over 35 pounds would be in this house.
Yes. Okay. Yep. Good point.
Even if it has nothing to do with the injury whatsoever,
Yeah.
you've got a super fat corgi.
Right. Yes. Actually, I
and
do. Yeah.
and it's irrelevant, but they're going to tag on to that and say, this, you violated this is an unfair and deceptive trade practice. I thought you were not taking any dogs over 35 pounds.
Yes.
So
Okay.
that's where I would be careful, and if you could use it more in a generalization.
Okay, very good. Okay, very good. What about when it comes to employees, contractors? This seems to be a huge issue in the industry. So I don't know if this is something you can talk on or not, but everyone's always worried about whether they should do independent contracting or hire as an employee. So what would be the basics that you could break down on that? Basic guidelines.
That's a tough one, and I hate to be sending you to 10 different lawyers, but with employment issues, I would go to an employment lawyer,
Okay.
just because the things that you can get in trouble with are thinking you have the 1099 employee, an independent contractor, and then
Uh,
realizing you're violating the IRS's rules.
yeah.
Because if they don't get to pick their hours or how they do their job, they're an employee. If
Yes.
you're telling them what, when, and where, they're probably an employee. So
Okay.
you have to be very careful that you're not, just because you say it's,
An
you,
independent.
if you've got an 80-pound dog and you're like, but no, he's 35. No, he's 80. So,
Right.
same type of thing. If it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck, even if you want it to be a canary.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Okay, I would
those
say
things are
that's the
tricky.
biggest.
Again, it's the IRS has very specific rules. Same thing I've done. I've had 1099 folks that I wanted to make sure were not employees, and I don't tell them which clients they have to take. I don't tell them what hours they have to work.
Okay.
I don't provide the stuff for them. They have their own computers, they have their own internet. When
Okay.
I've had someone do 1099 work for me before, it's very much they're deciding all of those things. I will
Okay.
set the standard for how, you will return all calls within 24 hours.
Okay,
We are
that's
here
good.
to serve clients, but how they do that, they determine. So,
That's up to them. Okay.
and they pick their schedules, all of those type of things. So with pet sitting, it can be tough because I don't think they pick their schedules so much necessarily.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Or dog walking, or they, unless, do they get to choose which clients they pick up or don't pick up? And
Yeah.
again,
I think that's yeah, I think
yeah,
there's
it's that fine line, so I'd be careful with it.
yeah,
Um,
especially if you're a pet sitter hiring other pet sitters to go out and do overnights or drop-ins or dog walking. Yeah. Because that
and
is a
careful with all of
specific
that, you need a contract.
yes. So yeah, so that's where it gets down to the nitty-gritty. Now you need another contract for each and every
Yep.
employee or independent contractor that you have.
Yep.
And now does the client need to sign a separate contract per employee or independent contractor that might be coming into their home?
There probably needs to be a clause if you're hiring outside folks about who would be coming into the homes, so they know it's not just you.
Okay, yeah.
And
So it's like a more of a general thing again, like
yeah,
in general, or
who has
any
access to the
employee of
home.
XYZ company.
Yep.
Okay.
Authority and authorization, I would call probably that section, and who has access to the home, who has permission to use it, when they have permission to use it,
Okay.
that type of stuff.
Okay, very good. Okay, so you did kind of touch upon the emergency authorization form a little bit, but I wanted to go back to that just because. So in my contract, I have where the customer can choose one of two options that they check mark off and initial, and it states whether or not in an emergency, if a vet is recommending euthanization, that I wait until they can be reached for authorization, no matter how long it takes, or if I don't wait after X amount of attempts of trying to reach them, I think is what I have in there. But then I've been told that a lot of vets won't even accept that. So even if they check marked, yes, go ahead and euthanize my animal if they're in severe pain and you tried reaching me X amount of times and you couldn't, the vet might still say that's not good enough. We can't legally do it. Are you,
Wow,
have
that's
you?
tough. So what I would say to try to ward that off is contact the vet ahead of time. You're going to know who they've listed as the emergency vet. I would reach out to that person and say, I'm now dog sitting Fluffy. I have a policy where if something happens, I will transport. You've been listed as the contact veterinarian because you're their veterinarian or you're their emergency veterinarian. What do you require in case you recommend euthanasia
Okay.
from the owner? I want to make sure I get that in advance just in case so that when we're in crisis, there's not an issue. What do you need on file?
Oh, good. Okay.
And
Would you
then
recommend doing that with maybe that's a good idea to do with every emergency animal hospital in your area too, in case
you
you
could,
can't.
or you could just do whichever ones are listed,
Yeah.
again,
But
because
if
if
it's
you're
if
going to
it's
that specific one,
but if it's not business hours and it's an emergency, you might have no choice but to take the animal to the local emergency vet, right? Or
oh yeah, I
to a
thought you
24/7
definitely want to
hospital.
know if your dog's sitting in off hours and the emergency hospital they've listed is not a 24/7 facility, you need to get a 24/7 facility listed.
Oh,
And they can
okay.
default to whatever one you is closest. Like that could
Okay.
be one of the options, but in case they have a place they want their animal taken,
Yeah.
then
Okay.
you want to know that in advance. Again, the
Uh,
more you can know in advance in case there's an emergency. I'm always one of those people who's like, I know we don't even like to talk about this, but if we talk about it, maybe we'll never need it.
yeah.
If we
Right.
don't talk about it, sure enough, we're going to need it. So,
Yeah,
if this
exactly.
is just peace of mind stuff,
Murphy's Law.
then
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Knowing in advance.
That's
But yeah,
great.
I would check in and see what the particular
Okay.
vet's going because you're right. You don't want to be in that situation. And also, is, do they want a DNR? You know,
Yeah.
uh, uh, all the vets I've talked to have told me the chance of getting an animal back, it's like 4% and they're never right.
Oh, yeah.
Except in certain circumstances. Like if there's
Okay.
just a funny blip in the heart and they can restart right away, good
Yeah.
quality outcome. So,
Okay.
like when I sign those when I go to the vet, I say, in your discretion. Like for the most part, I am not expecting you, but if it's just a blip and you think you can get them back, yes,
Yeah.
spend the dollars. I don't care because it is expensive to try to do CPR. So,
Yeah.
but they're going to break ribs. I mean, it's invasive.
Okay.
So, and it doesn't usually have a good outcome when
Yeah.
it's because of a massive trauma.
Right. Okay. Okay. Very good. That's great information. Thank you. All
Yeah.
right. So let's move on to branding. And, when it comes down to, you touched upon like you want to have a release form for media and whatnot. But is there anything that people should do when thinking about trademarking their business name or protecting their business name and brand from being stolen or,
Is
used?
that common in your industry?
Believe it or not, yeah, I wouldn't say it's common, but it happens. It
Yeah.
happens where people, they will see that there's somebody who's well established in the area using such and such business name, and they'll go and post up flyers with the same business name but their phone number, right?
Oh, wow.
Or
The
the same,
exact same business name.
yeah, I've seen that. Or
Wow.
the same, or they'll use the same colors and photos and very similar business name, and you know you see that,
Yeah.
I would say, on a good occasion.
Hmm.
Yeah, it
That's
happens.
unfortunate. So you can go through all the trademark stuff. It's a little pricey.
Okay.
Um,
And
you
is
re
that okay, would that be like a trademark lawyer or something?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Noticing
That's
a
who I would
pattern
go with.
here.
So there's group things there's big companies that'll do that for you for like a certain fee and unless
Oh,
you have a local lawyer you can work with, you might
oh,
want to price
okay.
both. I'd rather work with someone local that, hey Jeff, what's going on kind of thing than
Okay.
some massive multi-state warehouse
Yeah.
that's just cranking stuff through. Um, I think you probably could, depending how savvy you are, you might be able to work through it yourself. I mean, the instructions are on the US trademark and patent website,
Oh, really?
and
Okay.
they walk you through the instructions, and you renew it every so often. You submit your mark, you register it. Again, the internet is a wonderful thing. It's always time or money. So if you have an incredible amount of time and you're somewhat sophisticated, you can probably figure it out. It's
Okay.
just I'm one of those folks that's like, what's the thing I want to do? Where do I want to make the difference? That's where my energy is going, and I'm going to outsource the things that I'm not good at to someone who does it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know
We are in
that,
the same
but
spot.
again, if you don't have that budget and it's really important. Now, when you're brand new, someone's probably not going to be copying you. So you may have some time. Um, and it goes back to, as long as they don't register it, it goes back to the first time you put it in use.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I've had
Gotcha.
people trademark their logo. I've had people, which I think is so interesting because a lot of people have their logos done just by AI these days. They're like,
Yes.
this is what I want it to look like. So it's not even their thing really, but I
Right.
do get it. Once you make brand awareness in your locality, you
Mm-hmm.
don't want somebody else stealing that.
Oh,
And especially because what if they get bad reviews? What if they don't have the same
yes.
standards that you have?
What if they
That's
lost
the
a dog or?
Yes, that's the last thing you want is brand confusion. So, being able to distinguish yourself is a good thing.
Yeah. Okay, good. I love that. All right. And so if there is a serious incident with a dog or animal, cat, what have you, in your care, then what do you recommend they do immediately? I mean, obviously get the animal care
Yeah. So,
based on what's in the contract, but should they
first thing would
then?
be stabilize and secure, right? So, do you need to get to the emergency room? Do you need to stop the bleeding? Do you need to separate the animals? Whatever that is to stabilize the situation.
Yeah.
Once that's done, next step would be notify. So you want to notify the owner.
Yeah.
You want to keep that factual,
Okay.
objective and factual.
Okay.
There's been an incident. Um, your dog is whatever. Your dog has bleeding. Your dog has been transported. It wasn't that serious, whatever it is. We've taken these steps. We will keep you posted. Unless there's something you need feedback from them. Like, do you
Yeah.
want us to transport to the vet? Seems okay, but do you want us to go have it checked out? Would you like to come pick your dog up?
Okay.
Give those type of things. Okay, so you've got stabilize, then you've got notify. Again, you don't want to admit, don't be emotional. Like, don't,
Oh,
you need to take some breaths and calm your energy down as much as you can before you make that communication.
yeah.
You want to
Okay.
relay factual information. You don't want to speculate. You don't want to, you know, that dog's horrible. He's always causing problems. No, 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 no. If you knew he was always causing problems, he shouldn't have been in your house. So do not say that.
I'll say that. Yeah. Okay.
So, just when you're emotional, sometimes your thinking brain shuts down a little.
Sure.
So try to be very um, objective and factual, facts only in that first time. Then from there, you want to document. You want to preserve anything that you need to preserve. So if there's pictures of the scene that are going to be important,
Oh.
if there's a witness statement, if a neighbor saw it, you want to ask them to write a statement of what they remember that
Oh.
day while they still remember it fresh in their mind.
Yeah, that's a good
Because
idea.
this is not going to be the most important thing in their life.
Yeah.
So, the next emergency is going to happen and they're not necessarily going to remember. So, if you can get it fresh, even if they just email you,
Okay.
so,
That's good.
and if you're out on a dog walk, if there's a few seconds before you have to get back because something bad has happened, put it in the phone. Like, what's a phone number to get a hold of them? What's an email address? Something so that you can reach out to them later,
Yeah.
hopefully later that day to get more information.
Okay.
Um, Document and preserve. You might want to notify your insurance company. There are certain requirements. Again, you're going to want to know what they are in your policy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 30 days, sometimes it's because they want to be able to interview people while it's fresh in their mind. So
Oh,
they have a
okay.
very real reason for wanting to know quickly.
I see.
It's tough because if it's
Yeah.
not going to be a big deal, do you want to tell your insurance company this happened?
Right. Yeah.
So
Right.
that's kind of the hard part. If it's something small, I think I can make go away for not that much money, less
Yeah.
than $1,000. I don't know that I want to tell my insurance company because I don't want
Yeah.
to get canceled
Yeah.
or for my
It's like
rates
having
to
a
go up too
fender.
much.
Yeah, it's like having a fender
Exactly.
bender on your
Or
car.
like
Like,
my house, right? If there's
yeah,
something minor that's
you
$1,000 or
can
less,
fix under
I'm
your
not telling my
deductible.
homeowner's insurance or I'm not making a claim,
Yeah. And having it
right?
go up because
Exactly. There's
yeah.
something in my roof I can fix. Okay, I'm going to fix it. I'm not going to call them.
Yes.
So, same thing here, but again, the sometimes the problem is it starts small and it becomes a big problem.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
it seems like just a squabble between two dogs, and the next thing you know, there was internal injury to an organ and
Oh,
they end up
yeah.
dying.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
So, it
Yeah.
can look really minor there, but if there's something internal that happened, then
Okay.
it could end up being a much bigger deal once they get to the vet. So, um,
Would you ever recommend a time that the pet sitter call their lawyer
yes,
right
yeah,
away?
lawyer, I would generally say if you've got a major injury, if you've got injury to a person.
Okay. Gotcha.
Unfortunately, those get expensive quickly. Uh, I
Yeah.
had I had one situation where it was a pretty minor interaction, and 3 months later, the person said, "Well, I broke my finger. The
Oh,
leash caught my finger during that incident, and I had to have surgery."
oh wow.
And then it was a
Goodness.
six-figure demand from a lawyer.
And that was 3 months later. Wow.
And
Interesting.
the animal control report, like all the stuff said no injuries, no injuries.
And they still ended up being rewarded that?
Oh no, not
They would.
awarded. That's what their lawyer was demanding.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then that's usually where I say, you want to call your insurance company if they hadn't already because they're going to defend you and you want someone to pay your lawyer.
Oh, yes.
So,
Okay, very good point.
with the duty to defend, if you're insured,
Yeah,
that's important because that's even if it's a small incident, the lawyer's fees are what's going to get you.
yeah.
So, if they end up suing, it can get expensive very quickly.
Okay.
So, when it's a serious situation, I would I would reach out to your attorney. You can, if you have a good relationship with an attorney that you have established beforehand, like I've had my rescue clients will call me and say, "We had this happen. What do we need to, for the
Yeah.
littlest things."
Uh-huh.
Because
Okay.
getting ahead of it sometimes can be so much better of knowing what you should say, what you shouldn't say. By the way, all of this, again, what I do versus what I do what I say, not what I do. I had a dog who bit somebody once
Oh, wow.
in the vet's office in the lobby.
Oh, no.
And I did everything you were not supposed to do. First of all, I put my hands over the wound on her arm, blood, like direct contact with her blood. I apologized. I said, "I'm
Oh,
so sorry this happened. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. This has never happened before. I don't know." Yeah, made sure she was okay. She went to urgent care. I paid the whole bill. I sent her flowers. I followed up to check on her. A lot of times people want to know you care.
yeah.
It is amazing how much that can make something go away. But I will also say every lawyer in the world will tell you not to do it because you shouldn't admit fault. You're never supposed to you shouldn't talk about it publicly. You shouldn't talk about it on group texts. All of these things, by the way, because people do this, will be discoverable if there's a lawsuit.
Okay.
So if you are texting with your friend or someone else who works in the group and you're saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. Gus is such a bad dog," that's all coming out.
Okay. Oh,
So
yeah,
don't
better watch
email,
out.
don't text, don't talk publicly
Don't
about it, don't
post.
post on social media. Like,
Yeah.
I always say if you want to talk about it, get on the phone.
Okay.
The records will show that you had a phone call. 18
Yeah.
months later, you are probably not going to remember exactly what you said unless you have a diary that you wrote it in,
Or
which
recorded
then I
it.
can't help you. You're going to have to produce that
Yeah.
probably. So,
So
um,
yeah, so you want to be friendly, you want to show that you care, but do it on the phone.
yeah, well, no, I was just, if you talk about it in with your other
Oh,
sitters, if
I
you say we
see.
had an incident today, if you want to,
Okay.
because you
What
want
if
to alert, right? I would probably want to do that on a phone call.
what if you want to reach out and apologize to the other pet owner?
So if I were doing that, a lot of times what we would say is don't say things like I'm sorry Gus was attacked at the house today. Nothing like that. I'm really
Okay.
sorry this happened. How's he doing?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to follow up and see how he's doing. We're all
Okay,
wor-
so
we're all
making
worried
sure it's
about him.
no
I'm
making
sorry
sure you're not
this happened.
yeah, no fault,
Right.
no blame.
Right.
Okay.
They're going to want that, by the way. They're going to
Yeah.
say, "I don't understand how this happened. You said you'd be careful. They're going to want you to explain." And if you
Yeah.
shut them down and don't share information, it will make
Yeah.
it look like you're hiding something. So there's this darned if you do, darned if you don't
Yeah, that's a
unfortunate
tough
situation.
situation.
It is a
Yeah.
tough situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because naturally your heart wants to say, I care and I want to apologize. You feel bad for the situation. And yeah, I could, and then you turn around and it bites you in the foot. So,
It can.
okay, good information to have.
It can. It's so hard because a lot of people who call me, it's because they don't think the other person cares.
Really
Yeah.
interesting.
Or they
That's,
don't care enough, or they're not going to make it right enough.
yeah,
That,
okay.
and again, if an animal dies, you are not going to be able to make it right.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do at that point, right?
Eh, So, in that case, I just don't know. It's hard to give advice in that type of situation
Yeah,
because you can't make it right. There's going to be blowback. They're probably going to talk about it on the internet.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that's a tough one for a pet sitter because those scenarios are out of your control sometimes.
yeah.
And just freak accidents happen. Accidents happen
Mhm.
sometimes. Um It
And
could
some
ruin.
animals don't like some animals. I
Yeah.
mean, I've had, I know of a situation that happened where someone was walking a dog and the dog stuck their head under a car and there was a cat under the car. Fully
Oh,
leashed dog, but he grabbed this cat and it was over $20,000 in vet bills.
oh my
And who
gosh.
gets sued? The owner gets sued, the dog walker gets sued, like everyone's going to get sued because the owner wasn't in control of the animal. So unless they negligently picked the sitter or knew their dog should have been walked on a muzzle, again, a completely reasonable thing if a dog just quickly sniffs under a car. That's
A natural animal
right.
instinct.
And in
Yeah.
some states, you first bite, you're going to have liability. In some states, first bite, if you didn't do anything wrong, you're not going to have liability. So,
Oh, really?
but if you
Okay.
get sued, it's it's going to
You
be
have to
expensive no matter
you have to
what.
prove it no matter what. Yeah.
They have to prove it because they have
Yeah.
the burden because they sued you, but
Oh, I see. Okay.
it's, I get it. You shouldn't necessarily have to pay all that money for your cat, but at the same time, there's other things at play sometimes, like maybe the city has a rule that cats can't be at large.
Oh,
And if
okay.
that's the case, that's part of the reason that if that cat wasn't breaking the law, that cat wouldn't have been injured. So there can
Yeah.
be a lot of things that come
Okay.
into play. So I would say, again, you never want any animal to be harmed, and it would
Right.
be a really traumatic thing to go through. But sometimes you have to think about things in legal blocks, unfortunately,
Yeah. Okay.
that might be a defense. And those are cases where your insurance company hopefully would be
Okay.
aware of
Is
those.
you just made me think of this. Would it be a good idea, or is there a way to put in your contract somewhere that if you are sued and found not guilty, that they cover all of your lawyer expenses and whatnot?
Your client,
The one suing you.
the people suing you aren't in contract with you.
Uh,
They could be like in that case where it's the cat, someone's just walking the dog. The people who own the cat aren't in
oh,
contract
true.
with you.
True, true, true. Okay.
So, and that would be a state by state thing too. So,
Okay.
places like here in North Carolina, it's very specific. Each party bears their own. Now, contractually, you can shift some of that burden that if it's in the contract, um, that the losing party, if you have to sue to enforce the contract, again, this isn't suing to enforce the contract, so I don't know if it would apply.
Okay.
So again, that's a clause that you want to talk to an attorney in your state to see. And then also there's people who put it in because it might deter lawsuits. So,
Oh.
you know, I personally don't want anything in a contract generally that I don't think is going to be enforceable, but I also then put a clause in that says if any of these clauses are found to be unenforceable, the rest will remain, kind of a savings clause, if you
Oh.
will, that you don't throw them all out just because one's been ruled
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
unconscionable.
Okay.
So
Oh,
much to the contract law stuff.
wow.
It's
Yeah.
it's
How
it's a lot.
how's that stated normally? If you put it in there something that if if it was your client who had signed the contract and then they turn around and sued you for something, um, if they lost, that they would be responsible for all.
I look this clause up every time I add it to a contract, so I probably couldn't name it off the top of my head, but
Do you call that damages? Like the fees that you would pay for lawyers
yeah,
and
you'd probably make a
courts?
provision that says attorney's fees.
Oh, there you go. Okay, yeah. Just okay. And then do people
But
ever,
again, if you're grossly negligent and they sue you, well, they should win then, I guess.
yeah. Yeah. Do people ever have in there that they go to mediation first?
You could try that. I mean, there's mediation that they agree to participate. And again, state by state, see if your state would allow you to do this, where they agree to go to non-binding mediation, or maybe
Uh-huh.
you say you agree to go to binding mediation or arbitration. You
Oh,
agree
okay.
that in lieu of a lawsuit, you will first. The problem is they have to. For mediation is fantastic, by the way. I'm a certified superior court mediator.
Okay.
A lot of it depends on how good your mediator is.
Okay.
and then how much the parties will go in and play all out. If you really go in trying to be open, trying to understand, and trying to work toward resolution, this is
Yeah.
a tragic situation, and nothing either anyone can do or any check we write is going to make it better.
Right.
How can we take that next right step of integrity?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Both parties have to be willing to do that. Yeah.
yeah, because you can make them go to mediation and you can spend a bunch of money paying a mediator and your lawyers. But if they're not going to actively participate, it's kind of a waste.
It's a yeah, waste of time and money. Okay.
Yeah. And they
And
can
then,
go a long time.
and then can't you have it in there that they also cover the arbitration cost or mediator cost?
I would want to check
Okay.
that with your state law as to whether
Oh, okay.
you can make them pay your costs.
Okay. Okay. Because I know I've signed contracts before where it
Yeah.
said that, and I'm like, well, that's going to deter me from wanting to sue, even if something does go wrong.
Or that the prevailing party shall, yeah, the prevailing party shall not have to pay the fees, maybe. I don't know. Again, I
Yeah.
want to look into that and make sure that that clause would be binding before I put it in there.
Okay. Very good.
But it is nice to have that step because then you have to go through that process before.
Going to actual court. Yeah.
And as long as it's enforceable in your state again, that they don't
Okay.
have a right to, much like the LLC protects the business
Yeah.
for contractual stuff, it
Uh,
doesn't protect the owner if they're the ones doing the sitting.
Yeah.
They still have personal liability. They
Okay.
still have tort liability. They don't have contractual liability, but they have tort liability. So negligence is a tort.
Oh, okay. Tort, you're saying is TORT?
Mhm.
Okay.
So
Never heard of that name or that word.
yeah, if you are a single member LLC and you're the owner and you go out and do the thing that causes the animal to be injured, you can still be sued personally.
Oh, okay. And that's a tort.
You're not going to be sued for breach of contract, but you could be sued for the personal action that you may have caused an injury for. So if
Oh, I
you did
see.
something, if you were
Goodness.
negligent in some way, you were grossly negligent in somewhere, you were drinking and driving while you had a dog in the car,
Okay. Yeah.
something,
Example.
try and think of something extreme that would,
Yeah.
you're in
That would
the
put
under the
you.
influence of some medication that you shouldn't have been taking if you were operating a motor vehicle.
Oh, right. Okay.
That could
Yeah.
be a problem.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow. So many factors I never thought about,
So many things.
So
Yeah, it's one
many.
of those things they say law school ruins you forever because you realize all of the insane exposure that's really out there. But most people are really good people and they don't want to run straight to court. They want to work things out if they think someone cares and they have a good relationship with you. Like I
Mhm.
always say, I would never sue my dog sitter.
Yeah.
Even the worst thing happened. Like I work with her because I know she's a good person. I know she loves animals and I know she's doing her best.
Yeah.
Even if she made a mistake that resulted in my animal not surviving, I
Yeah.
wouldn't sue her. It wouldn't make anything better.
Yeah. Well, and we all hope to have customers like you.
I'm the same with my veterinarians. So I'm the same with my veterinarians. I think the only thing we might not have talked about was dock retention, like things they should be keeping.
I kind of passed up on that because I know earlier you had mentioned about having the electronical plus on a
Okay.
hard drive outside your house and all
Yeah.
that jazz. But yeah, if you have anything you want to add to that, please feel free. What would be important to
I would
talk
just
about?
want to keep that stuff.
Yeah, the vaccination
Like we
records.
did talk about the medical to make sure you know what you should be giving when, but I'd want to keep their vaccine histories and general rule of thumb, 7 years.
7 years. Oh, okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's just
Anything
like real
that's
estate. Okay.
anything that relates to your business, say,
Okay.
your articles of incorporation, that's forever. You want to keep those documents always structural to your organization, keep those documents forever. But and if there's a really major incident, you probably want to keep that forever if there's a really, really, really bad incident. But
Okay.
generally, check what your statute of limitations is in your respective state. But
Uh-huh.
generally, 7 covers that. That's generally for financial documents, and it would include most statutes of limitations that I'm familiar with. At least North Carolina, we have a 3-year statute, so 7
Okay.
definitely covers that. It's
Okay.
just, you want to be careful in case somebody got hurt by something and they didn't know they were hurt right away. So it drags that number out for some reason. So seven's just a little safe. Keep it for seven
Yeah.
years kind of thing.
Yeah, good. Okay. Well, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I can tell just from the information you've given me today that I need to go back to the drawing board and rewrite my contracts. And, I'll be thanking you for it later should something ever come up. So thank you. It's been really, truly very valuable. And I'm sure if I found this much value, I'm sure other people will too. So
Great.
I know we had discussed that you actually have a freebie that for people that they can click on the link.
Yeah.
So I will put that link in the description of the
Great.
episode here when it airs. But tell us a little bit about what that'll be.
Yeah, I just like to do I know we talked a lot about things to put in contracts and just kind of that top 10 list of the 10 things you really need to have in your contract to
Perfect.
protect you
Yeah.
if nothing else. Like these are the things you really got to have. So I just wanted
Oh,
to share that with your folks in case they're starting from scratch.
that's great. So just check out the description, click on the link, and it's completely free.
Yep.
And you can get Callie's a PDF or download on that with your top 10. And if anyone wants to reach out to you or get a hold of you, if they're in North Carolina and they need an animal lawyer, how can they do so?
My website is animallawNC.com. So www.animallaw, two L's back to back, NC, just like North Carolina.com.
Okay. Okay, very good. Well,
Awesome.
thank you so much, Callie, for being here. I really appreciate it. This has been very
Absolutely.
valuable, and I appreciate all your time. So,
Thanks for having me, and thanks for all of y'all pet sitters and walkers out there that are helping animals.